Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum to all and welcome back with another amazing episode of Fahad's Journeys Talk Show. I'm your host Fahad Wala and I'm student at Rehan School Online Academy. So I'm based in Pakistan, Karachi, and today we have an amazing guest with us, Ed Squire, who has bunch of experiences in different fields and different professions, and he is very experienced in podcasting. Also, he's a very experienced podcaster. So, and finally, I have this opportunity to interview him, and it is very most awaited podcast for us. So today we are on our show. We are honored to have Ed Squire, a man who wears many hats with a heart full of purpose. Ed is a podcaster, speaker, and videographer whose work embodies the transformative power of kindness and compassion. He is the creator and the host of Visible Kindness podcast, a platform that celebrates how kindness can reshape lives and communities. So, with over 25 years of experience as a trusted business consultant for Fortune 500 companies, Ed has now channeled his expertise and personal journey into creating impactful stories and advocating for healing and purpose. He is also the founder of MeTooWhatNow, an organization dedicated to helping trauma survivors reclaim their lives. From crafting inspiring documentaries to teaching others how to use creativity for impact, Ed's passion for serving others with kindness shines through everything he does. Today, we'll explore his journey, insights, and the incredible mission behind his work. Please join me in welcoming Ed Squire. So, finally, Ed Squire, how are you?
Fahad, I'm great. Thank you for that introduction. That was very nice and very kind, which is the greatest thing I love to do. And it's great to be here. So thank you. Yeah, wonderful day today in Denver, Colorado, in the USA.
Oh, that's really great. Nice to hear. And thank you so much. It is honor for me to, introduce you to my listeners, to my viewers finally, and your connection with kindness, love, and heart is incredibly amazing. As your background is also like red, which means that it is heart, the color of heart. So, what's new in your journey? Do you wanna share what you are doing now after taking 2 years of break?
Sure. Yeah, I did take time off. I mean, I was on social media a bit, but I wasn't really driving what my purpose was and the projects. I brought everything to a halt. There were a number of reasons why. One was just to give me time to rest. Another one was I had some physical things to look after, and so that was a really good time. I'm not really into the lifestyle I used to have, where it was a pursuit of, success and money, so you could do something positive. Of course, a lot has to do with yourself, and my shift has changed tremendously because I'm not interested in doing things for myself anymore. The number one thing I want to do is make an impact in our world, make an impact in people's lives, and money comes down on the bottom of the tree. So I've made a lot of money, and I've made not a lot of money, and money doesn't really change who I am. So that's been a great shift in my focus and what I want to do, and yeah, it's very good. So I'm looking forward to. I've been working the last 3-4 months getting ready to relaunch everything that I'm doing, and that will come to pass in the beginning of February of next year.
That's really great. So you said to relaunch everything. I didn't understand. Means you're about to relaunch your organization and companies.
Yes. So Me Too What Now was a nonprofit for several years, a nonprofit organization. And I took the nonprofit off of it because it didn't fit that business style. And so it's now part of a corporation, and the corporation is Ed Squire Media LLC. So my podcast fits under that. My uh, organization that helps survivors of trauma and abuse, everything fits under that one company now, and so that's a big shift. And yeah, so that's what I've done.
That's awesome. Great and good wishes for your next amazing journey you're about to start. So, at your relationship, I can say with kindness, with with this kind of thing is really incredible. It means it shows that you're very close to the kindness and you're type of that person who loves to help others, who loves to make an impact in this world. So, how and why this connection built, and what was really, the turning point in your life when you realized that I have to now make an impact in this world to leave making money like that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's a very good question because at the time, I was working for Fortune 500 companies in the US, Canada, and in Europe. And I worked at the C and V level. So that means working with CIOs, CEOs, CFOs, vice presidents, and understanding the challenges they were having in their corporation, not only locally where they were, but also globally. So it was a huge career that I had, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I met so many interesting leaders at such high levels, like the leader of like the CIO of the Boeing Corporation, Pepsi Cola Global, Wells Fargo here in the United States, and billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies in Europe when I was living there. And so it was very, very good. But what ended up happening, which is not uncommon, but I got really stressed out. I mean, when you're traveling and working like that, it is very stressful. The higher you go in your career like that, for the majority of men, not everybody, like Elon Musk, he doesn't get stressed out by the amount of work he has. It's a personality type. But I went through so many airports, and I always ran into other businessmen who were living a lifestyle like I did, which is a lot of travel, a lot of work, and you made a lot of money. But a lot of them, they had burned out as well. So I was having some challenges in my job, and my boss said, "Hey, you should take some time off and just give yourself a rest." And I said, "Okay." So I did that. But what ended up happening, which surprised me, was my past came to haunt me, which I did not expect. So, my organization called MeTooWhatNow, which helps survivors of childhood trauma and abuse, and the trauma could be maybe you got adopted, maybe you got physically abused, maybe you got sexually abused, maybe you were verbally abused. Children experience many types of different trauma in their lives, but the outcome of those traumas are very similar. We suffer from similar mental health issues, lifestyle issues, personality. We suffer from very similar things. And so that's why I built that. But what came together was I had it was just so interesting. Our lives happen for a reason. They really do. And I think the more we believe and trust that we really don't have the control in our lives that we think we do, but our lives have a path that is chosen for us. And if we're aware of that, we can follow what that is. I never thought like that before because everything went upside down and I was wondering what is going on. So what happened was when I was taking a break, I had a call from a friend of mine in Canada, and that person lived on the same street that I lived on. Her brother was a childhood best friend of mine, and he committed suicide when he was 25. And I know why he committed suicide for a couple of reasons, because I was involved in the same trauma and abuse that he experienced from our elementary school teacher. So our elementary school teacher sexually abused, I can't even tell you how many boys, 95% of the boys in my class. And he did that before I was ever in his class. He did that after I left his class, and he destroyed so many lives. And one of my best friends committed suicide. So his sister wrote a book about his life and asked if I would be willing to speak at an event for her as she launches her book. And I originally said no, because I didn't want to do that. it was just too emotional. But I decided to do that because I thought it would be good. Interestingly, at the same time, I was asked to speak at an event where I live in Denver, Colorado. So my friend who wrote the book invited me to come speak in Canada, but I also got an invitation to speak at an event in Colorado, and that was an event that like in Denver, there's a huge push um, uh, about underage child prostitution, underage prostitution, right, for kids, and sex trafficking, underage sex trafficking. That's what I'm looking for, and so they asked me to come and speak at an event here in Colorado, and without getting into all the details here because it's just too much, read my book, look at my documentary when it comes out in 2025, because I'll be getting into just my entire life. But they asked me to speak there, and I did, and then I went to Canada and spoke there. When I came back, and I remember I'm, taking a break. Within 30 days after I got back, I discovered that I was worse than I was before, and I needed like 6 months off. So I took 6 months off, leave of absence, and after 6 months, I thought, I'll be good. I need a break. My job is a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, all this stuff about me speaking about these things. That's stressful. I need time off. So I took at 6 months, I decided to take another 6 months off because I needed it. So that's a year. And after a year, I was no better. I was worse. And I was actually suicidal at that time, which I never would have spoken before because I never wanted people to think about me like, what do you mean you commit suicide? Because people used to see me like you're seeing me now. I sound good. I look good. I don't know. That's a matter of opinion. But, I had a good personality, but that people saw, but underneath it was not good. It was just not good. And I had a hard time dealing with, who am I? And so at the end of a year off, being suicidal, my doctor, psychiatrist, mental health therapist, they all said, you're not going back to work. And it was a real shock to me. And then I lost my job. And that's when I had to think, okay, what am I, like, where is my life going? What am I going to do? And that was about, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact days, but that was about 10 years ago. And I had to rethink my entire life. I had to rethink, who am I? What's going on? Why is this happening? Where am I going? How do I get healthy again? And so it has been a journey in those spaces to help me get to where I am today, which is absolutely completely different than I ever would have imagined. And I really am so grateful for what I've learned about what is important in life, what makes life worth living. And it has nothing to do with my career, has nothing to do with how people look at me anymore. What matters in each one of us is how do we feel about ourselves? That's what's important. And forget about how you look, right? It's just like, just be yourself, and don't think about trying to reach a certain stage of, are people accepting me, right? And so having gone through so much trauma, that's what caused me to start MeTooWhatNow. And it went so good. It went so good because I was invited to be on television. I was in newspapers, on the radio. I was on many podcasts. And I never expected that, never planned that. And then I started Visible Kindness because I'll never forget my therapist telling me, she said, Ed, you need to stop looking down all the time. You're always looking down. You need to look up and look at people, and you need to smile at people. And I thought, I don't want to do that because I don't think no one's going to like me. I don't like myself because I was suicidal at the time. So I forced myself to just look up and start looking at people. And I was surprised that people looked back at me and they smiled at me. And I couldn't believe it. It's something, I know I sound weird with that, but it really changed my life. And so I just really found out that being kind to others and being kind to myself had a huge impact in my life, and it started to have a huge impact in other people's lives. So that's when I started to take this journey into here I am today. And at this point, I completely forgot what question you asked me, and I've just talked a lot. What did you ask me? Did I answer it?
Oh, Come on. You completely answered my question, my whole question.
Great. Yeah.
So your turning point is really amazing. Means you started your podcast and your I can say your podcast became the turning point in your life when you started speaking with people. So then you realized that you're now back in your life and they started, liking you again. So it is really amazing. And the point you said, um, be the person who you are. And you know that we can't change ourselves, means, uh, you know, accepting our existence, accepting who we are. It is only we what we can do, because anything else we can't do. If we can't accept ourselves, so we what we will do without the um, accept this. So it is an amazing. So you named your podcast Visible Kindness. So you named this because of the turning point you got from this, because I started this podcast. And what is the reason naming the your podcast Visible Kindness?
That's a good question because with the background I had in corporate America and doing what I did, um, I love isn't the right word, but I understand marketing and understand branding and I understand communication. And so, with Visible Kindness, for example, and Me Too What Now, I create a business strategy for both of them. And they got to be like 40, 50 pages long each. And I made that for myself because that's what I did for all these Fortune 500 companies. And that's just natural for me to do. And I know everybody doesn't do that. I did that. And also for the sake that if this would grow, if this came to the point of where it was of interest to successful people that had money and influence, then I could give them my strategy to show them, here's what I'm doing, instead of just telling them what I'm doing. Because when they look at it, they're like, holy cow, this guy has got a plan. And so I did that for both of them. And when it came to Visible Kindness, I do things like, I'm going in a different space here, but I'm answering your question. It's one thing to go, oh, I need a podcast called Kindness About Everything, or like, what should I call it? And a lot of people do because they don't have the experience. And I get it. I understand. I'm just grateful that I have the experience. So I go onto Google Trends. I look at what are people trending on. I go onto YouTube. I find out what are people looking at. I find out what is of interest to people in our culture in different places around the world. And absolutely, kindness, huge, absolutely huge. And I wanted to create something that was a good branding name. And for me, literally what my therapist told me to do was look at people and smile. So it was a visible thing to me. And so I thought Visible Kindness, I like that for a brand, did lots of research on that. Nobody's using that brand name. So I chose Visible Kindness. And so everything I create is under that title. Right? It's visible kindness for myself, visible kindness for others, and it's great. Me Too What Now, on the other hand, because it's for survivors of trauma and abuse, again, I'm like, how can I create a label and branding? Just before I say that, when you see my logo, Visible Kindness, the actual script that is used for those letters, you can't find anywhere. And that's where my head is at. I love marketing. So I purchased and had someone create a font that doesn't exist. So it looks fantastic. I've got that. It's very unique. Me Too What Now? Same thing. So I was like, the term Me Too, when I did a ton of Google searching, you find that at the time was absolutely huge because there was a lot of events happening in Hollywood where sexual abuse of women was a big thing, and sexual abuse of women in the workplace was a big thing. And they came up with hashtag Me Too. And so I thought, well, there's no copyright for using Me Too. And it doesn't have to apply to just women in the workplace. It can apply to anybody who's suffered from trauma. So I used Me Too. And then I always thought, like, So like now what? Like what now? Like what do you do now? Okay, I've identified I am a survivor of trauma. What now? And I thought, me too. What now? I like that. Again, Google trending, doing the research for marketing doesn't exist. It's very well made. And then under Me Too, What Now? If you've ever seen the logo, Me Too is surrounded in black. What Now is surrounded in white. So you come out of the darkness, you get into the light from Me Too to What Now, and then I'm getting into a lot of the branding, but it's powerful. Under Me Too, it says find yourself. And then under What Now, it says live yourself and then give yourself. And for me, that is the power of living a successful life. Finding out who you are, even if you don't have trauma and abuse, find out who you are, learn how to live that way, and then give yourself into our society that way, instead of finding yourself and like, okay, now how can I make money? Money will come your way. Just how can you now give back to our culture to make a difference? And with visible kindness, I have a saying that I want to come up with a branding saying as well. And it said, the kindness, I can't remember it. I sent you, I can't remember what it was because my brain is off today. I can't remember what it was, but I came up with
It's okay.
an excellent branding quote that goes with it. So all of that came to an excellent. I mean, if it was somebody else's stuff they were doing, I'd be like, wow, that's great. I wish that was mine. I'm like, yes, it's mine. And so that's what started me off with going in this direction. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
It sounds really great and amazing and interesting. Means the way you named to your organization and to your podcast is really great. Means after being observed, means after um, what should I say? The things happened with you, the kindness which happened with you, the
Yeah.
pupils who did kindness with you. So that's why you named this, and some sort of other things came up here. So now coming to your organization, Me Too, What Now? You described as well why you named this and how. So how you heal traumas in your organization, means what is the process of healing them and which type of things you use here?
So just before I answer that, I had to have to remember what. So my branding for visible kindness is kindness given to others is a reflection of the compassion you give yourself. That's what it is. Kindness given to others is a reflection of the compassion you give to yourself. So I just want to mention that, which is it's a powerful statement. And so you're
Yeah.
ask me that question again, just so I don't miss it.
Yeah. So my question was that, yeah, how you heal pupils from traumas, means what is your procedure, what are the things you use here and all this stuff.
Sure, right. So I wrote a book, and it's not a long book. It's about, I don't know, 80 pages or something, and it's entitled "How I Overcame Childhood Trauma and Abuse." Learn how you can break through shame and self-deception, overcome your biggest fears, and restore your dignity and your identity. So the the purpose or the goal of what I was trying to do. And so when I created a path to do that, I created what are called 5 stages of recovery, and this is created from a survivor's perspective, not a mental health professional or a doctor or somebody else. Because I believe, and in my book, I talk about how survivors need to connect with professional help. Usually, rarely we don't. Is you need to connect with professional help, but at the same time, it's also important to connect with other survivors that have living a similar lifestyle. Lifestyle is not the right word, but who are experiencing similar challenges and difficulties as you are. As I went through my process, I've been in many different like groups of like men that have mental health issues and organizations that are so I've connected with a lot of people that were survivors themselves. And that's where I got filmed, and I ended up speaking at events because I'm speaking to survivors. And I really like connecting with other survivors because there's so much encouragement in it. So the 5 stages of recovery that I created, which really align with professional stages, but it's not, it's different. It's from a survivor's perspective. So I tell people, and this is where MeTooWhatNow comes into play, is I say the number one thing you need to do is locate yourself. Right? What does locating yourself mean? It means taking steps to understand what is, making you feel distressed to the point of feeling you can't hide anymore, you can't handle, you can't manage your life. So locate yourself. It's hard because it's not good. The stuff that is in your life and who you are, a lot of times you can't find anything positive at all, because you could, even if you're the suicidal stage, it's hard to find out, when I locate myself, I'm not looking for, if I got good things that are happening in my life, great. But you need to understand where you are, right? And I teach how to write these down, and to how do you actually pursue this stage of locating yourself. The second one is I call it safety and self-regulation. And what that means is understanding your triggers, and you start creating a safe environment for yourself, and you stay in a safe environment for others. Because in my process of healing, before I started and during the process, I wasn't safe with a lot of other people, because I would be so angry at certain things. We all go through different experiences in recovery. And so, I teach people, how to find this place of understanding what your triggers are, what causes you to do this, and how do you start creating a safe space internally, like physically, mentally, and emotionally, and how you avoid self-harm. And then externally, meaning this, I call it the safety around you, right? And that's getting physical safety, and identifying, dangerous situations, relationships, things that you do, learning self-defense for your mental state. And it goes on. So I teach that. And then the next step, which is 3, is memories, grief, and mourning. And I like this because it aligns with professional help, but it's different because it's from a survivor's perspective. It's from my perspective. It's from what I've gone through. I had to go through my memories. I had to go through my grief after I've established myself, right, with steps 1 and 2. After I've established myself in my process, then I understand, I go through dealing with my mental and emotional baggage and moving on. How does that work? And there's 5 stages, and it's not my 5 stages because I can't, I'm not a professional mental health person. So whenever I'm using some professional processes, I mention them because I'm not the creator of them. So I found through, it's called the Kubler-Ross model of understanding grief. And so you understand denial, which is the first thing. You understand anger, which is the second. You understand bargaining, and then you understand depression and acceptance. And so this is, recovery is different for everyone. And then I explain what I did in that process for recovery. And what's interesting is I created, I got a tattoo, which I've never had a tattoo in my life. And it's a tattoo of a person that looks like they are extremely disassociated with themselves. They look very, very angry. And it's here on my arm. And when I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt, you can't really see it because I don't want it to be outward and exposed, but I like being able to show it to people and then explain why is that there, right? So it just looks like a person who's in stress, and I've overcome that. So I encourage people to do, not to get tattoos, but it may be journaling. It may be, maybe you're an artist, maybe you draw something, maybe you, whatever it is that you do, find a way that you can express yourself in this process. And then the 4th stage is, I call it identity. And that is looking at yourself in a mirror for who you used to be. And that tattoo that I have is actually an image of that, how I saw myself just distraught, angry, upset. Look at who you used to be in a mirror, and then define who you want to become. Because I think a challenge is when you go through these first 3 stages, you wonder, who the heck am I? Because I've never lived my life pursuing who I am. I've always been pursuing something that, like, what do other people like about me, and what should I be doing, and where should I be, and people that haven't suffered through trauma, they even do that, right? Because they're trying to win and win popularity and be successful. So your identity is so important in life. You need to discover who you are. And for a trauma survivor, for me, it was like a blank slate. I'm nobody. I'm like zero, nothing. Now what do I do? And so I use self-awareness to do this. Like, what is self-awareness? It's learning the good news about I can do anything I want to do. I can be anything that I want to be. And I practice acceptance. I practice knowing what are my values? I never had values before. What are my values? How to live independently, right? So do things that are pleasing to myself and not other people. Know my strengths, know my weaknesses, because you'll never have strengths in everything. And I could go on, right? What drives you? What is your practice of self-compassion? How do you live with spontaneity? Begin to live. Remember, it's Me Too, What Now? Find yourself, live yourself. So this book I created, it supports and it meets the branding that I created. So this is the live yourself stage, right? And the last one's called integration. And what integration means is living in your new identity that you got to create from nothing. I think a lot of people who, never suffered trauma, they have created an identity to meet what they think people should think, right? So to be free of that and living in your new identity, because I got to choose anything. I thought, well, what kind of a person do I want to be? Like, it was an amazing process to go through. So now you learn to live in your new identity around a healthy present and a healing past, and you focus on things like working, because you have not overcome all of the challenges yet. You have not. I still work on them, right? But you overcome fears of normal life, healthy change, and changing yourself. You learn to create healthy attachments. You learn to live. You leave unhealthy ones behind. You continue to work on decreasing your shame and your alienation. Remember, you asked me this question. It's a big answer. It's a great answer. So you go through all of this, how to manage and interact with people in relationships, with your spouses, friends, colleagues, and strangers. And then you know what? Life is beautiful again, and so are you. And then you go with what now? You can do whatever it is you want to do in your life.
It was really great and helpful answer where you described your all five stages of healing traumas. So you described Me Too from What Now and your two stages, your two, process or whatever I like the most is locating yourself, and then you describe the third stage where you said identity. So these two stages, I believe that identifying yourself, that who you are, is really important, and locating yourself is also an important thing. So now coming to your podcast about visible kindness. So how many episodes you have done here, and how much time you have spent in your podcast?
So I love that question too, because if you're a survivor, it's a good answer. So I took a lot of podcast training. How do you do a successful podcast? I'm connected with many very successful podcasters I mean, very successful, and in life and business, finances, and podcasting. That's not me yet. Maybe I'll be there. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I'm not pursuing that. I'm pursuing making a difference in the world one at a time. And so when I took all of the training that I had and began to develop and create the strategy for the podcast, I think it was 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, and I struggled with being able to maintain a consistent schedule of creating them, like once a week or twice a month, or what is your schedule? Because I was still going through a lot of challenge in my life, a lot of struggles in my life. And I decided, you know what, I don't need to pressure myself to have a podcast done every week or twice a month, or even at all. I don't have to do it at all. So having learned what I learned with what I told you in Me Too What Now, I refused to put myself under pressure. And so I took time to just really continue to work through what I just told you in finding myself and living myself and giving myself. I was fine with, so I did 2 years in a row, and I think it was like, I don't know, 30 podcasts. And then I had to take a break. Like I just told you, I took time off. It was like a year. I think I took a year off from podcasting, and I just started it up November. I got a couple of podcasts out just to get warmed up again for relaunch. I'm going to do like official relaunching. I'm not going to do any official relaunching for the podcast. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm at a very different stage in my life with the podcast. Having said that, like I said, it doesn't bother me if I'm consistent or not. As I grow in my personal life, it's going to become more insistent. What's interesting is whether I'm consistent or not, it gains a lot of popularity. People love it, right? They love it. So here's what visible kindness became. So I decided to I had to come up with a mission for this thing. Like, what is it about? And so I wrote this. Visible kindness explores the transformational power of kindness and how it affects us internally, changing our daily lives, and externally shaping the world around us. I thought, I like that, because we need to be kind to ourselves, kind to others, and that's gonna make an impact in the world and around us and far from us. When kindness begins within, our lives naturally become unexpected answers and blessings for others. The last show I just made was called The Butterfly Effect, and it was all about how you don't have any idea about when you're kind to yourself and others now, you're going to make an impact in the world that you don't even know. You have no idea. It's the power you have of doing something kind to someone on a small scale, or say it's on a big scale. Like, it doesn't matter. Kindness is such a huge word to try to define as to what the impact has. Because you could have an impact if you're a huge leader. You could have an impact that affects millions of people. Or if you're someone like myself, it's just someone I met at the grocery store. So your act of kindness has the potential for making a big difference in the world. And you become unexpected answers and blessings for other people. So kindness is where we find our identity, our purpose, and our fulfillment in life, which, interestingly enough, I never thought about this until now. That lines up with Me Too What Now. Remember, Me Too What Now is find yourself, live yourself, give yourself. Visible kindness is find your identity, your purpose, and your fulfillment. That's amazing. See, that's amazing. If I wasn't on your podcast right now, I wouldn't have thought of that. So on the show, it's focused on compassion and generosity, how it changes our lives and others. And I like to exchange thoughts and ideas like we're doing right now. What we're doing right now is an act of kindness for me, for you, and for the people that listen to the show, right? And it can make an impact in our society and our culture. So that's kind of briefly where that's headed.
It was just an amazing how you started your podcast and the episodes you've done. So, which categories, pupils or persons you connect with, and like the pupils who are suffering from traumas, or the pupils who are mental health specialists?
Are you asking about that for as a whole or for each organization?
Means I'm asking about your podcast. In your podcast, which
Okay.
categories people you invite as a guest?
Yeah. So I invite people who, as anybody who has an inspiring story of an act or acts of kindness that they have experienced or that they have given, and how they changed someone's day, someone's life, or themselves. And so what I like about that is it's not one kind of person. It's business people. It's people who are like my next door neighbor. I haven't had my next door neighbor, but I'm not looking for people that qualify at some big level to be on the show. If you understand kindness, if somebody has just done kindness to you that blew you away, come on my show. Let's talk about that. If kindness is a regular part of your business, which for most people it is, right? Being successful is one thing, but so many people, they have kindness built into what they do. And so the conversations are on interesting levels. And I do solos as well, where it talks actually, I didn't do solos at all in my first couple of years. I decided I need to do solos, which represent the kindness I've done for myself, how that's impacted my life and others. So it's an interesting uh, audience and guest group of people. I'm not saying that right, to come on the show. What I'm really grateful for is I found that a lot of podcasters, you struggle getting guests. I don't struggle getting guests. I've got so many people that contact me and say, can I be on your show? Can I be on your show? I've got kindness. I'm like, yes, absolutely. So I never worry about getting guests. And that's a huge blessing to be thankful for. It's very interesting. I love it a lot. And if you've ever watched it, if you've ever seen like just the way it's branded, the way I create them, I love it myself. And you need to love what you're doing yourself more than are people impressed with what you're doing. I love what I do so much. I love watching and listening to my own shows because I feel better. My life has changed just from my guests and hearing what people have shared, that I never expected my podcast to actually be part of my own self-healing process, which is, life is good to me. And is what I'm doing is good to so many other people.
Exactly. And you know what? You're very lucky that you don't struggle with finding guests as I struggle, you know.
I hear
I
that all the time.
literally, exactly, I literally search and spend my many hours for just finding guests, you know. And when I will approach and they respond.
I love what you're doing. I have a lot of people that reach out for me to be on podcasts, and I actually turn down a lot because I'm not trying to pursue being on a lot of podcasts as a guest, right? For me, my daily life is important. The balance of things that I'm doing is important. And so when you asked me to come on your show, I was like, the first reaction was like, no, because I'm so busy. I get invited a lot, but I took the time to look at what you do, and I thought, wow, I am so impressed with what you do. On a technical level, on a personal level, on your podcast, and I thought, yeah, I would love to be on your show. So good for you for what you're doing. It's what you're doing is making a difference as well, and I'm grateful for that. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ed. I'm truly grateful towards you that you, and yeah, I've noticed that when I messaged you, you just responded me, and without leaving me on struggles or without letting me to do any struggle, you just responded me. So it was really great. So, Ed, you described how your journey converted and what was your turning point and how with an act of kindness your life became changed, but you haven't shared that how you created someone's life with an act of kindness. So do you have such kind of stories where you did an act of kindness and someone's life became changed and he reached out to you and something like that?
Yeah, well, you're asking me a big question. I could talk for the next hour just on that because for me, every single day, uh, the number one thing that is on my mind when I'm inside my apartment and when I step outside is how I can be kind to myself and kind to others. I literally have this um, this is how I think. And so, I mean, just yesterday, I mean, it happens for me every single day. So I'll tell you this one from yesterday, which is just a very basic thing, because you don't have to do something huge to make someone smile. But there are times you can do things huge that just completely change someone's life. So yesterday I was at a store looking for something, and this guy and his wife had their cart, and it was in a very narrow space, and I had to kind of get to the side. They had to come by, and I said to the guy, I said, this is like being on a freeway. I said, everybody's squished in here. And he goes, I know. I said, but you know what? I said, you're not a bad driver. And I love I'm a very comedic kind of guy, right? I said, you're not a bad driver. I said, your wife looks like she's okay with you. He goes, actually, I'm a bad driver. And his wife goes, yeah, but he gets us there safely. And I said, have a nice day, you guys. And they walked away saying, thank you so much. You have a nice day as well. And just that, just lifted my day, right? I felt so good that I made someone smile, and guaranteed they're going to walk away talking about what happened to them when they were shopping. And some guy, right? So that's one thing. And it's just I'm naturally kind. It was, and I mentioned this in a podcast I did just recently, where I was at a coffee shop, and I didn't wear one today. I should have. There's a line of t-shirts I'm going to put out because people are asking me for these t-shirts. And I wore these t-shirts when I started because I was suicidal at the time. And my therapist said, you need to look up, you need to smile, you need to do these things. So I decided to wear these shirts. One shirt says, one act of kindness can change someone's entire day. I like that. Another one says, everyone needs kindness. I got these lists of shirts that I wear, but this one that I wore, which says every kind word can change somebody's life. I'm getting coffee, and this lady says to me, while I'm ordering my coffee, and I always forget that I'm wearing it. And I'm like everybody else. I'm like thinking about whatever. I'm ordering my coffee, and she looks at me. She goes, I could use a word. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And she goes, your shirt. It says one kind word can change someone's entire day. I could sure use that. And I said, okay. So I looked at her, and she was like definitely in her 60s. She's an elderly. She's not like the young kids who are doing that are baristas. I looked at her, I said, you know what? I said, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's your makeup or if it's what you're wearing. I said, but I said, you just look fantastic today. You just look so good. And it blew her away that I said it with that kind of enthusiasm. And I was very sincere about it. And she said, oh my gosh, you have absolutely made my day. And now think about this. People behind me were watching this. The people that were working with her watched this, because I speak loudly as well, which is another thing about my personality. And so there was an impact happening with everybody in the coffee shop that could hear this. And what surprised me was she didn't charge me for my coffee. She bought it herself for me. Now talk about, this is the way I live. I love to live this way. And I could go on for a long time talking about acts of kindness I've experienced, received. I had a guy walk up to me and he gave me a handful of cash, which is actually sitting on my desk. It's a big handful of cash. And he said, I just felt like giving this to you. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, yeah, I'm just giving it to you. So instead of taking that money and spending it on whatever, I'm using that money to give back to people. I could buy stuff, but I don't. I'm using that when I feel the opportunity to give someone money. That's what I use that little bucket of money for. So that's how I live. So it's not just having a podcast; it's my lifestyle.
It's great, Ed, and I really like that you do act of kindness. You're really kind to everyone, and as well you did an act of kindness. The podcast we're having is the biggest example of act of is it your act of kindness, because you're kind. You responded to me. If someone would be there instead of you, so you could say that no, I'm busy, as you said that you're actually were busy, but you responded to me and you reached out to me and said yes. So it was great act of kindness, and actually it made my day. And now we're having
It's
this.
made my day as well, Fahad. I was looking forward to it, so I'm glad this happened.
Thank you so much. And I'm trying to make this more interactive, and um, to discuss such things that could help our listeners and viewers. Um, so, did you ever experience an strange episode where something wrong comes up or something like that? And how many episodes you have done in your podcast?
How many episodes? I think I'm at. I don't know. I think I'm at like around 40, right? So it's for me, that's 2 years and a bit, 2 years and a little bit. It's around 40 episodes, and they've all been so good. They've all been so good. Like I have a website. Sorry, let me tell you, I do have a website, edsquire.com, and that's going to be changing in the new year. But There's a podcast page on there. You can where I put together a clip of little pieces from a number of podcasts that I've done to show people the different types of guests and the different types of things that happen in the show. It is just that little clip I made. It's like holy cow, this is so good. And I don't look at myself like, oh, look what you did. It's great. I'm just like, it's what's happening just to help me my own recovery. I love what I'm doing to make a positive impact in my life. So I've got that. I've also got my YouTube channel, which I started because YouTube now has a playlist for podcasts. And when I first started, you didn't really film podcasts, but now it's smart to film as much as you can. It doesn't always work that way. But so I film it now, and I'm sorry. The second part of your question was what? I'm so sorry. I don't think.
Yeah. The second part is about the episodes, and the first part was that you ever experienced a strange episode where something wrong comes up, and something like that.
A strange episode that didn't work like that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I had one. And it was really not strange, but when I have people on my show, like there's a lot of people who really want to be on the show, and I can't have everyone on the show. There's certain, and this is just a business. It's a business structure, right? And you have to meet certain requirements, like you do, for people to be on your show. And if they don't meet the requirements, I can't do it. Like if you don't have let me just say this carefully, because I will have people on my show who may not have a website, they may not have a Instagram account, they may not have a whatever, but most people do. Even if it's not something they focus on a lot, most people have something. So I like to be able to promote what they're doing, and not just to be on my show, but like to promote their company or something they're selling or what they do. And so there's a purpose for them being on the show that's not just for me, but it's also for them. And so if they don't have anything and they're so focused on, they want to use it to be to gain recognition, right, and popularity, I don't have them on the show, because I'm not looking for that myself. I'm not interested in how popular and successful my show is when it comes to popularity. I'm not. I mean, yes, but I just do one show at a time. And am I making a difference with that one show? Great. Is it having a positive impact on one person? Great. I'm not looking for big things. So it's I've only said no to one person, and I said you can be on the show, but you really need to be in focus with what you're doing. And the purpose of being on the show isn't because you want to promote what you're doing. The purpose of being on the show is, what can you share with the audience that has impacted you or other people and make a difference in the audience. So that only happened once.
Exactly. It just touched my heart that most of the people comes to the podcast as a guest because they wanna promote their own businesses and their own um, brand and something like that. But the pupils who come to the show to share their wisdoms with the audience, with the pupils, so it is the truly meaning of being a guest.
Yeah.
As
It is.
you're sharing your wisdom, you haven't shared anything, that could do promotion of your brand. You haven't said that a single word. You're just totally sharing your wisdom, how your life became changed with the act of kindness. So, what legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work and your visible kindness and your advocacy for compassion?
That's a very good question. It's a little bit hard to answer, but really, I mean, it may sound kind of high and lofty, but I sincerely want to make a difference in the world, because we need that. I never thought that kindness was such a powerful thing that we need in this world. I never looked at it like that. It is absolutely huge. I never looked at that. And then when MeTooWhatNow, I didn't realize that the amount of trauma that so many people have been through, that they don't have, they're not healed from it. They haven't been able to help themselves with. I never knew these are two humongous topics. And I really like how one deals with really my own health and recovery, which is Me Too What Now, and the other one, Visible Kindness, deals with just joy in my life, which I need joy in my life. So it brings tremendous balance into my own personal life, first of all. And so to wrap up your question, I want to make an impact on as many people's lives as I possibly can with both with both businesses. That's what I want. It's not that specific, but that's where I'm at right now. Just day by day, I want to have a positive impact in somebody's life.
Exactly. The gist is that you wanna create an impact in the world, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, it's great and it's really amazing if someone wants that because of him or because of her, this life gets a change. So it's great if a person can um, do a little change in this world, because when all the pupils will stand up and do something for the world, even to plant a tree as and it's a small plant, so it could also do many things. It can stop climate change if 5% a tree, so it's not bad. But if
Yeah,
all
it
the
is.
pupils will, yeah,
Yes, I agree with you.
exactly. So um you're running an organization who heal trauma. So what are your most cases, like which type of cases you get mostly in traumas?
So that people have experienced.
Yeah, like something I am asking that in which thing people get traumas mostly.
Okay, I've got a very powerful answer for you. Um, and this person has nothing to do with my organization, Me Too What Now. Oh, a little bit with visible kindness. It doesn't matter if they're connected with me through those things. What matters to me is, am I making an impact? So to answer your question, uh, 2 years ago, almost to the day, I was on Facebook and I saw someone doing a Facebook Live. It was a lady in San Diego, California. She is a youth pastor and she's talking on this Facebook Live, and she doesn't do Facebook hardly at all. She never does Facebook Lives, and she goes, "Hi, my name is Jessica Lala, and I'm a youth pastor here in San Diego, and I don't like doing Facebook Lives, but the reason why I'm doing this is because I have ALS." Now, if you don't know what ALS is, it's a disease that you get that there's no cure, and you die typically in 2 to 5 years. Done. And the process of this disease shuts down your body to the point of where you can see, and you even get to the point where you can't talk, you can barely swallow, you can't move, nothing. But your brain is 100%. You lose every function in your body in a short amount of time. And she's posting this Facebook Live, and she said, um, I'm doing this because I need to raise money for the treatments that I'm getting, because there is no treatments for this, which is incredible. I hope that AI creates treatments in the coming days, because I believe that's very possible. But there is no treatment. So there is treatments that people are attempting, like doctors and scientists are attempting to do things. And so one of them is using stem cells, replacement of stem cells. To get treatment, it costs her $60,000 a month to get treatment. And she said, I'm trying to raise money. And I was watching this going, what? So I sent her a message, just like you and I connected. I said, hi, Jessica. I said, I don't have a lot of money, but I have a podcast. It's not huge, but I'm connected with people, and I'd like to do anything to help you raise money. Well, we ended up getting on the phone immediately and talking. And I said to her, you know what? I said, instead of me putting you on the podcast, I said, your life story needs to become like a documentary. And that will not only raise money for you, but it's going to make a difference in the entire community of people who suffer from ALS. And she said, what? You would come here and do that? And I said, absolutely, I would. And so I was in San Diego 4 days later, and I was there twice. I was there for around 2 months total. Filmed. It was, oh my gosh, it just was so heart wrenching for me. Her and her husband, her family, wonderful, beautiful people. And I stayed with them most of the time in their house. And it just hurt me so much to when I filmed her, she was, we went to the doctor's office together. We went out for something to eat. She went, did this event, that event, and she was, having troubles walking and things were hurting. It's 2 years later. She is now, she has a very limited time left, right? So she is at the pretty much the maximum stages of where you're going to be with this disease. And so I haven't put the documentary out yet, and there's a reason. There's reasons why. You're asking. This is a big question you're asking me. Why would I not put this documentary together? It's been 2 years. Well, and remember I told you I took 2 years off, right? And I told you to rest and relax. What I didn't tell you was I ended up having a brain surgery like 4 months ago. The reason why I took time off was there was something very wrong with me physically and mentally, and found out that I needed to have a brain surgery because there's a thing in my head the size of my fist. And so that had to come out. So I since I left Jessica 2 years ago, something went wrong with my life. I couldn't work. I couldn't function. I couldn't focus. And so now that I've had my brain surgery, I'm putting my life back together. I'm relaunching everything. One of the top priorities of what I'm doing is putting her documentary together. It hurts me that it's taken 2 years, but everything happens for a reason. What's interesting is before I went in for my surgery in June, I was nervous. Who would not be nervous for having a brain surgery? And I hadn't talked to her or her husband for quite a few months. And my phone rang and it was Jessica. And I was surprised that she called. And she goes, and her personality, by the way, is like mine. Her husband's completely opposite. This guy's a straightforward thinking guy. I mean, he's just brilliant, and quiet. And Jessica and our personalities are very similar. So she calls me and she goes, how are you doing? And in my mind, I'm thinking, how are you doing? How are you doing? Like, I don't even know how you're doing. And I said, Jessica, how are you doing? And she said, Ed, the reason why I'm calling is to find out how you're doing. How do you respond to that? And I said, Jessica, I'm doing fine. I'm nervous about going in for this brain surgery. And she said to me, are you ready to die if that happens? And I said, I am. I'm ready. And she said, good for you. She says, because both of us are going to be there. I don't know if it's going to be you first or me first. I don't know when my husband is going to get there, but we're all going to get there at some time in our lives. So she said, good for you that you're in a state of mind where you're ready for that. And, I did ask her how she was doing, and she could only talk for about 10 minutes because it completely wears her out on every level of energy, physically and energy wise. And, she can't hold a phone. I mean, she's just so not doing well. And she has such a huge heart that she was more concerned for me than she was for where she's at. And that made a huge impact in my life. And if I was never doing visible kindness, I never would have met her, never would have filmed her. I mean, you should see, I made a 1 minute video for her. I know I'm going on, but I made a 1 minute video for her when I got to San Diego, and she needs to raise money. So I filmed and I sat in a Starbucks coffee shop for 6 hours making a 1 minute video. To make a 1 minute video that's powerful and effective, you need to be aware of every single second of the 60 seconds you have to make a 1 minute video. You don't just make whatever. And so I put this thing together. It is powerful. I put it out that day. Overnight, it raised $10,000. And in a matter of a few weeks, it raised over $60,000. And it blew my mind. And so I said to her at the time, I said, because she was organizing a fundraising event to help raise money. And she wanted me to come and film that and speak at that, which I did. But I said to her, you got your $60,000. What do you need to have a fundraising event for? Right? I was just kidding. And I knew that she needed 60 grand like a month. And she never asked for more than that. She goes, I know. She goes, I can't believe it. She goes, but I still need to raise money. And so this was a whole adventure in my life. And Fahad, think about this. If I didn't do one single act of kindness by saying, you can come on my podcast and I can do what I can to help you raise money. And she's a complete stranger. And she has completely changed. She has changed my life, her and her husband in this experience. And when the documentary comes out, I'm going to be like, boom, a whole nother new person because of that. Kindness is so powerful. I don't even have the words to explain to it. And at this stage, I don't even remember what you asked me, as usual. And you know what? That's because I've had a brain surgery recently, so I forget things. That's why I struggle a little bit on this visit we're having. So now you know a lot more about my life, and I think that's a good answer to your question.
Exactly, Ed. And I don't have words for this. I can't completely believe that a person who is meeting with someone in Facebook, and it can do a very big difference, in someone's life.
So
It's
think
completely.
about the when that documentary goes out, and it was I filmed. It was I love filming, right? It is well filmed. When that thing goes out, it's going to make an impact on countless lives, not only for ALS, but just for being who you are as a kind person. It is going to be the most incredible thing I've ever done when it comes to filmmaking. And I've filmed a lot of stuff, a lot of great stuff, but this is going to be something that's going to make a big impact. So I don't even know what to expect when that comes out. And it's been a huge blessing for me to have that opportunity to be in her life like that. And to be on your show literally right now talking about it. So people are going to be
Exactly.
wondering, well, I can't wait to see the documentary because you're going to want to see it. I'll send you the clips, and if you can share them,
Yeah,
that'd be great. Because it's powerful stuff. When you watch this stuff, it'll blow your mind. I'm telling you, it is very good. Very good stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm literally excited and curious to watch the documentary. And not me only, I will share with my colleagues, with my friends also, so they will also share. I have 500 plus colleagues, just believe me, in my institute. More than 500 students are learning here.
Oh,
So
this will be good.
what about Jessica? Is she fine now?
No, no, she's not fine. She's going to die. Fahad. She's going to die. Every day that goes
Oh,
by, she's closer to death. That's it. There is no recovery. No one with ALS has ever recovered, ever. Every single person that has got it has died within 2 years to 5 years, and some people die in less amount of time than that. When you get it, it takes your life away and you're done. So she's had to deal with when she first got it. It shocked her. She has to deal with, and her husband have to deal with, she's going to die. She's going to die before her teenage kids reach adult ages. She's going to die before they get married. She's going to die. And I feel horrible saying that, but that is exactly what's going to happen. Now, unless God does something, boom, I believe anything's possible. But that's never happened with this disease. It is the worst
miracle.
disease you could possibly get. She would rather have cancer. She'd rather have any disease other than this. She'd rather have her legs cut off because of something and still live. But this is taking her life. Yeah,
It's completely a serious matter.
yeah,
We only can pray for her life, for her health. May God bless her
yeah,
with good health, and may God will do a miracle for her that could
yeah.
save her life. So thank you
Yes,
so much, Ed. Thank you so much, and really sorry for taking your 1 hours and 8 minutes. I just didn't completely realize that it is going this much, lengthy, and because you're also many commitments you have, you are running your organizations. Really sorry, and thank you so much for sharing all the wisdoms, all the things you have shared, and it was just amazing. It was an amazing conversation with you about means the gist and the conclusion is about kindness. That kindness is not just a word. It is a huge thing. If we will dive into this, so we will realize that how much we will get, and a single act of kindness can do a really great impact on someone's life. So viewers, thank you so much for watching us. It was about our conversation. It was about our today's episode. So meet you soon, inshallah, with another amazing podcast with another amazing guest. Till then, stay peace. Bye bye. Allah Hafiz.